So how do we respond when tragedy comes knocking at the door? If there's anything that this week and even this season has been in many of our lives, it's a season full of tragedy. And as we as a community, in the suffering community, have been mourning the loss of 2 teenagers this past week, we've been wrestling with, okay, what does that look like for us to have a different answer than maybe the world around us has to tragedy, to loss? Good morning, All Souls Community Church. I'm Will here with Tommy, and we've got a good discussion, I think, for us this morning to wrestle with, because it's not just the 2 teenagers who lost their lives in recent weeks here in suffering. It's the multiple people that I'm even aware of in your lives that we've lost in the months leading up to this time. It's the threat of more lost life. And to use our teenagers' words, it's, hey, this is just more evidence that life sucks, right? That it's just bad, that it's just dark and it's not going to get any better. How do we make sense of that? And what does God actually tell us? What's the hope? What's the good news? And so I've got Tommy here with me today again, because this is really connected to what we talked about last week, isn't it, Tommy? With regard to that whole idea of a world that we get to create that's supposed to work our way, and that when it doesn't, things really collapse, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I think about when I was a kid and I played with Legos a lot, and I'm thinking about how my 5-year-old daughter now is starting to get into Legos, and it's really funny when you don't follow the instructions the way that they're laid out for you, and you put blocks in certain places, you go to play with it after the fact, and it doesn't work the way it's supposed to, and it's very worst, it crumbles, literally, quite literally. And so I think about how a world that we build for ourselves, physical, mental, social, electronic, whatever form it can exist in, I think about a world that we build and we think will sustain us, we think will provide the answers we're looking for, we think will fill the unsatisfied parts of our soul, and then when it doesn't, we're either left to keep pushing in that direction because maybe we haven't struck gold yet, or we lament and we do despair and we find that it's hopeless, right? That if that wasn't the ticket, nothing is. And if there's one thing, like Will just said, our teenagers have picked up on subtly and not so subtly, is that the idea that life is hopeless, that you're bound for despair at some point, that life is against you, and then it's never going to turn out the way you want to, even while at the same time feeding the lie that as long as the self is on the throne, it will turn out the way it's supposed to. And so when we reflect on tragedy, and when we reflect on the widespread hopelessness and despair that seems to be prevalent in this generation, I think about how so many teenagers are looking for people to just show up in their lives, right? If you're in the suffering community, or this is the first time you're hearing about this tragedy, and you've been reflecting on this, and you ask yourself or think to yourself, what can I do, or how can we prevent a thing like this going forward? If you know a teenager in your life, show up. Just show up. Yeah. It doesn't need to look a specific way. You don't have to have all your cards together. They just want to know you care. They just want to know you're prevalent. And what's beautiful about that, or one of the things that's beautiful about that, is that it's actually a subtle way to dethrone this idea that the self is the ultimate authority, that the self has ultimate autonomy, that the worlds we can create for ourselves are good, and that they will sustain us and satisfy us. When you continue to show up, you break through that idea, because what they will then realize is they will find hope and a way out of despair through you and through what God does through you just by showing up.
Yeah, I love that. It makes me think of Jesus in the way that his entire earthly ministry is that. It's the power of presence. It's him showing up. It's him seeing the blind man on the side of the road and going and helping him out of that despair that he's in, and that situation in life that he can't get himself out of. Right? Yeah. It's him seeing Zacchaeus up in the tree and then going and being in his home and establishing him as a human being all over again, when so much shame had robbed him of his experience, of his identity, of his value. I love the picture you painted of the Legos, right? Because the Legos are real, right? And the world that you create with Legos is a real world, quote unquote. It's real in the sense of it actually exists, but it's not real in the sense of it's an actual world. And that very much like resounds with that idea of of virtual reality, right? It actually exists, but it's not real. It is virtual. And when the Legos collapse, it's like this picture of you sitting on the Legos, right? And they fall underneath you, and you're stuck there, and you need somebody to come and help pick you up out of that mess that you've just made, because you've made a world that can't sustain yourself, let alone anybody else, right? And that's I think one of the things that has been so resonating with my soul as I've been praying for our teens and our young adults has been that notion that we've been sold a bag of goods with the current state of our culture that says you can and you must be anything you want to be, and the world around you must agree with that. When it never does. You can't create yourself, and you can't create a world that sustains that. And so there's the Legos that collapse underneath you, and that idea of being present, being the one that's gonna help not only get them back up, but help remind them that they actually do live in a real world with real people where they are really seen and really loved. And that just sounds like Jesus.
Yeah. So if you're watching this, and you resonate with what we're talking about, and you have a teenager or a middle schooler or even a kid in your life, show them this devotional. Use this as a jumping off point. Talk to them about it. Use this as an excuse if you can't think of one to just show up. Here's a perfect example for it. But I did have another thought that I wanted to share too, that what's funny about the message that pervasive culture gives us about this self and the authority, the autonomy, the world we create for ourselves, is at the same time it gives us conflicting messages about the world that we actually live in, right? About the snow and the grass and the trees that are around us even now as we record this video, where culture will tell us the self is all you need to look into to find the answers you're looking for, to ascend, to be content, whatever it is, fill in that blank, like you can find it in you. But at the same time, it also tells us that we're space dust and we're accidents and we're nothing, and we're cosmic irrelevancies, and we're just blips on a screen that will pass by and have no impact. It's ironic that we're so great and at the same time we're not. It's so like tragic in the truest sense of that word, that when we look at that message for what it really is, it doesn't even agree with itself.
Right.
It does, showing us the result we're going to get all along, which is that crumbling throne of Legos.
Wow. And that's a message that resonates specifically for our teens and young adults, but I think for every human being on the face of the planet, right? Because there's a very real sense. We just entered into the season of Lent, and what do we do on Ash Wednesday? We put ashes on our head and we say, from dust you came and to dust you shall return. It's this notion that we actually are dust, cosmic dust, right? But what separates our story as Christians from that pervasive culture story is the reality that dust has the breath of God himself inside of us, giving us value, giving us life, giving us purpose. And so, yes, we are all dust, but we are Holy Spirit filled dust, God in flesh dust. We are part of the divine, lives in us, which is what gives us value, right? It's what gives us purpose. And so, man, it is so good to remind ourselves that in a very real sense, we are far weaker and more broken and less able than we like to admit. And at the very same time, when we come to know God in Jesus, what we find is a God who loves us more than we could ever imagine, who's entered into that struggle with us and for us, and who's actually made a way through it, through that dust unto glory. And he invites us into that now. He is our hope. He is our light. He is our life. And so whether you're 90 years old and at home by yourself and you're struggling because you feel all alone, or you're 12 years old and you're on social media all the time and scrolling that death scroll and trying to find like meaning and purpose and value there, hoping that people are going to like you, whatever end of the spectrum you find yourself on, Jesus is the one whose promises, I will always be with you. I will always be for you. And I am your very life. I am the way, the truth, and the life. And he welcomes you to come to him even today. And so we encourage you to do that, whether for the first time or the 100th time. Turn back to Jesus. He's our source, he's our life, and he is the way. Friends, thanks for joining us today. Thanks, Tommy, for your good word. And let's keep wrestling together, and let's be there for one another today. Amen? Have a great day.